Alright, friends and fiends, let's go ahead and get our stream underway. How are you guys doing? Are you doing? Things are going okay for me. So, thanks for asking. I know you were interested. Let's see. We played some D&D yesterday. We're going to play a little bit more D&D tomorrow. So, all in all, shaping up to be an alright weekend. So, I like that. I didn't have to run either one, so that's always nice. So, I'll be hopping back into the DM seat for this upcoming 2 weeks, essentially. So I'll be running. Well, we may stream some of my session prep this coming week. I don't know. It kind of seems how the schedule shakes out and whether I get around to it and when. Let's see. Other stuff that's kind of going on. I think that's pretty much it. We don't. Otherwise, not too much. So today, obviously, we're going to jump back in, and we are going to continue our setup for our solo D&D campaign, a river apart. So we're going to continue setting up today. So if you haven't seen any of the previous stream, you might want to go give it a look because we're going to keep building off of that. And so you don't have to have seen it, but it will be helpful. Let's put it that way. Here. So just to show you guys what we've been doing. Here we go. Or what I've been up to. Adjoining week. So we had our atlas map where we had sort of zoomed in where this portion of the world is, and we're going to be not what I meant to do. I have the wrong tool selected. I should have the pointer selected. We're going to be right here. It's a pretty big hex, so at the scale that hex is 360 nautical miles across, side to side. So we zoomed in, and what that zooms in, and we can see it as region hexes, which allows us to kind of see the nations and states that are in that area. So that's what we're at right here. And each one of these little guys, each one of these hexes is 60 nautical miles across. So still very large hexes. Too large for us to use for any sort of hex crawling, especially for where we're going to be starting in this campaign. So already this is still too big, and that's all right. We're going to zoom in again, and that's part of what we're doing today. And then we'll probably zoom in once more once we get actually playing. I don't know if we'll need to do any of that for the setup, though. I don't think so. I don't think we're going to need to do that. That's what we're looking at. So this was able to give us sort of our nations that are kingdoms, in this case princedom, which one is right here. It has that little yellow border. Next to it we have another duchy over here. It's got this blue border, and I guess what do we call that now? I guess we would call that a province now. It's over here as satrapy. So this is a vassal state. This person is a vassal state to the larger nation that's right next to them. If we go back and look at the Atlas Hex right now, they are abutting this nation right here. It's quite large, comparatively. They are a vassal state of it. And so what we've done is we knew that we're pretty sure at this point that the beginning of our campaign is pretty much going to take place in this hex right here. And so that's where we'll zoom in and really get down to the nitty gritty. But we're not going to fill that out just yet because I want to discover that during play because we actually don't know what's in that hex yet. And so that will be part of our play, is just uncovering what that hex is. What I've done is that I've actually taken all of our princess lands. I've taken this hex, the 6 hexes that are around it. So 3, 4, 5, 6. And then all the rest of the princess land down here. Everything that's in that yellow border. And dropped it down to our county hex. I can zoom. Like, you know what? I'll just about that. So as you can see, I've zoomed in a little bit more, and I've actually gone ahead and hidden these because these hexes, I haven't filled them out, but just to make sure so I don't accidentally do it, I've blacked them out. And so this is all of the princess land down here. All part of the Firstintum? I think, if I remember correctly, that's what it's called. All the princess land, anyways. And went ahead and added in our little biome, so I did that. 2d6, if you watched any of the other streams before. You've seen me do this before. And so none of this should come as a surprise. And you see me do all this. So it was dropped in, and then I added the rivers in. So we're to the point where we can now start dropping in those points of interest, so that way we can understand exactly where the different sort of like key NPCs are going to be. So one of the major reasons that we're doing this is we're doing this so we can build out the court for the prince, because we need to know the NPCs that are around who might be our potential allies for our noblemen, our single PC character in the solo game. What potential political allies they might have, what sort of rivals or enemies they might come across who are acting in the court against them. And since we're starting pretty much with getting with the ceremony at court, that we're going to probably need to know at least some of these people. So I figured this would be a good way to drop in. We can send in some points of interest and see what we come back with as far as types of nobles and important sort of VIPs who might be there. Sorry about that. My throat is giving me some problems this morning. So we're just doing our best. So yeah, that's sort of the plan today. As we keep going here, let me mess with some of this stuff real quick. Back over here. There we go. So I should say as a disclaimer, hey, if you're interested in doing solo D&D or some other TTRPG, it doesn't have to be Dungeons and Dragons, you don't need to do all this. And that needs to be very clear up front. You don't need to be doing all that. You can literally sit down and just pick stuff up and start playing. This is a weird thing that I'm doing, and the thing that I'm doing because this is my, this is the world that I use to run a bunch of different games in, sort of my own personal world. So it's also an excuse for me to do world building in the world, which is it's a huge world. It's like an Earth-like world, so it's roughly the size of Earth. So there's a lot of stuff in it. And so anytime that I have something like this, it's really nice because I can go in and detail like a specific kingdom in it that I maybe haven't touched yet. And that's sort of what we're doing here. Right, we have our ruling NPCs. We have Magistros Laios, we have Fürst Hells, and we have Herzogin Duchess Ava. I'll put it that way. Who are our main ruling NPCs of those three kingdoms that we saw on the map real quick. So I've got those down. We've busted everything down to the county hex size, which is 10 nautical miles across, so roughly kind of a day's walk. If you want to do that, that's kind of how I look at it most of the time, is that's about a day's walk or so, and you know, generally doing other stuff and you know, at a comfortable pace. Let's see. Anything else that I have forgotten to talk about? Yeah, I added the course of the Ruhtikh River in, as well as the new smaller waterways. I have not done the classification for the rivers yet. I have not done that yet. Gosh, my throat. I don't know if we're probably not going to focus on that today, because that'll be a real quick thing. I'll just do that in between streams. So I'm trying to think. I think that's pretty much everything that I've done in the in-between time. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in and start adding some points of interest for the Fürstentum, the princedom or principality. And we're going to add some points of interest. I think we're going to outline our PC's flight path, because we know that they're going to move from the court to their new holding. It's going to be sort of part of the kickoff for our campaign. So that's where we're really going to focus on, because we want to know specifically, you know, whose land we have to go through to get to that spot, and what points of interest might be in there. So those are going to be the areas that we're going to map out first. We're going to map out those hexes first, and then we can move on from there. And I think it's about time that we determine a few things about our player character, so I think we're going to do that as well. So, and start putting some stuff down, because right now our character is very much a blank canvas. We don't really know anything about them, except that we know that they are a noble, and they know that we've pretty much figured out that their family also is a noble. So they have a parent who's a noble, we're assuming, or an uncle or something like that, some sort of family who already has bearing at court, and so that is one of the reasons why we will be becoming landed after we basically go through our rite of adulthood, which is pretty much where we're going to kick off. So that'll be sort of an interesting kickoff where he's going to have to sit his vigil, because that is one of the recognized ways to sort of the trial or rite of passage into going from being a child into adulthood in this part of the world. So we're gonna do that. So yeah, we'll figure out some of that stuff first. So I think let's map our core path with our points of interest. Let's see what's going to be there, and then once we get there, maybe we'll jump over and do some stuff about our PC, and then if we have time left, we'll jump back over and we'll start doing some more points of interest. That sounds like a plan to me, which is good because I'm supposed to be the person with the plan. So that sounds good to me. So we're gonna hop over and do that. That'll be our focus. Let's throw this back over. Let's get to it. No sense talking about it. All right. Let's zoom out a little bit. So if we look up here at our region map, we know that Prince is going to be, his castle is somewhere in this hex. That somewhere in this larger hex right here. Usually I don't want to put larger points of interest when I'm shifting down the scale around the edge of a hex, but it really doesn't make sense to put their keep or castle. Sorry. He's on my. In the middle of this hex, there's really nothing going on here, and I think it would make a lot more sense if it was maybe on the bank of this river. And so I like that better. That seems like a better position because we don't have any hills or anything in this hex that would make sense as far like a strategic position for his castle to be at. So I'm thinking that and Bailey is probably going to be down here. His Plot and Bailey is probably going to be down here. Again, I don't like putting it on the edge of a hex. I like to put it towards the middle of a hex, but sometimes we got to break those rules because it kind of makes a little bit more sense. Now, the interesting thing is that if it's down here, there's not much of a flight path because we're only trying to get to here. So we really only need to kind of maybe know what's in these 3 hexes, our points of interest, for how we're going to get there probably initially. And this will give us an idea as to whose lands we might be crossing in this flight pattern as we fly. This picture of me is a little bit larger than the usual workspace one, which we may hop over that one just because it gives you guys a better look at the map. You won't be able to see me rolling dice, but that's not that big of a deal. Not that important. So yeah, let's start. I guess let's start here. So we have this one. We know that there's going to be a larger point of interest in this larger hex as well, which is going to be the crossing that's being built, which I'm going to assume it's probably going to be being built right here, I guess, because it needs to be in this hex. So yeah, I think this is probably where it is. I mean, we could put it here. I mean, heck, we could put it here if we wanted to. But I think it makes the most sense being on this hillside where this little river is. I think that makes the most sense for it being the spot the ferry goes to. That's what I think, anyways. So yeah, so let's go ahead and put that down here. Go ahead and drop this in, and then we'll start looking for the smaller POIs, points of interest. But for this one, we're going to go ahead and put this in. So we're gonna pick. All right, so this is an APL 1116 crossing. Actually, I can probably just copy what was up here. Oh, I didn't put anything up there. What did we put in our document? Holding remains after construction. We'll go ahead and we can just copy this because it's exactly what it is. We still have that big question: is why isn't there a settlement here when there was up until recently an active ferry? Because this ferry's being repaired. It's not a new build. So we still have that question. Other than, you know, maybe there's not anything else that's really around. And now we could set it on then. It might actually make more sense if it's then in that heavy wooded area. As to why there might not be a settlement there, because it's very isolated. You know what? I'm going to leave it where it is for right now. I can always go back and change it later if I still feel weird about it. And we need to add one Bailey for our prince. We said we were going to add here. There we go. And we've got the information for bills right here. Paste that in. The prince tells us keep and court. And again, APO 11 through 16. So really, people should only be messing with this, or really take advantage of this location when you would be within those level bands, which makes sense. This will be sort of like the capstone of our planned campaign is going to be sort of around that. We're going to be hitting that 11th level. We're going to be pushing right up into essentially this level of play, where we'll be doing things like dealing directly with the prince. We are going to deal directly with the prince early on, but we're not going to have the power dynamic is going to be way different than it would be if we were potentially at the end of the campaign and being level 11. We'd have a much more even keel conversation. But we are far from there. We're going to be starting at kind of level 1, maybe even level 0. At this point, because in the very early on, our prince, or not our prince, our PC will not really be. They're going to be the care package. They're not going to be the active protagonists in their own story. They basically have to survive long enough to become the protagonist in their own story. So at the very beginning, they're going to be a little bit more of the MacGuffin. We're going to focus a little bit more on their supporting NPCs that are around them. And then once we get to the holding, things start to build out, then we're going to start our nobles going to start to accrue some of that, some of their powers or class levels essentially, and they'll raise their ability scores, they'll get some of their proficiencies, and they'll pick up a class at that point. But in this beginning part, there's not going to be much for them. We're going to focus instead on the people around them, the retainers. They're going to have to put their life in their hands. All right, so we know that these two. So, like we said, we're going to do basically going to look for points of interest in these 3 areas. Now, here's the important thing. this guy right here, gonna be this hex, will be a civilized hex, which means there's gonna be a high likelihood of a bunch of points of interest are gonna show up in this area. And then this will be in the marches. Will be the marches as well. About 50% chance each one of these hexes has something in it. Except for these water hexes, which it's even slimmer chance. So it will go from being a 50% chance to like a 1 in 3 chance. Makes sense. And remember that the scale, even though we might have things that show up in what looks like a water hex, remember that these hexes, even at this size, are over 10 nautical miles wide. So there still can be like little islands and stuff like that, or the things could just be underwater. We'll see once we get there. So yeah, there's no place better to start than the starting. So I guess let's get started. So I think we'll start with these water hexes first. So instead of rolling a d6, I'm going to roll a d10. If I roll a 1 through 3, there's going to be something here. Right there. There's going to be something here. And because it's a March's hex, we're going to roll a d20. Alright. And that's a 1. Which at this point is a village. I take this little guy. Alright, we can go ahead and do the population if we want. Probably not going to focus on putting a ton of information in these at this point. 833. Okay. We'll round that up to 835. And another there. No. Alright, what do we got on this little hex right here? We got a 4, which is a religious site. Right? No, 4 is travel haven. Sorry. It's a travel haven. What are we doing? Arts. That's all we really need to know about it right now. I'll flesh out some of this stuff as we move forward, but don't need to do it for most of it. Okay, gonna be something here. What is it? Ooh, a little treasure roomer. Perfect. Little treasure roomer here. Oh, sorry, the treasure roomers. And what's next to that? 13, which I believe is ruins. Ruins of what? 12d12. Signage of some sort. And go with this guy. What's the technical? Omens. Info. Warning. Do this. L0510. This could be our treasure room. All right, here we go. Of course, if you guys have any questions about any of this, feel free to jump in and ask. Otherwise, we just kind of blow and go through them. A lot of 5s. All right, one over here is going to have something. And we rolled a 6. Oh, which is a dungeon and or lair. So go ahead and take our little dragon. We'll drop him in there. So there's some kind of bad guy over here. A fungeon? You know, just a plain old dungeon. Not even a fungeon. Ain't that the way? Alright. And there. Alright, there's gonna be some here. 19, which I believe is a remains. Go. Let's find out. You know, I just kind of want to know what type of remains are. So we can do this. But sometimes I find this is one of the ones that's kind of more useful, at least for me, to figure out. So let's just do. We don't have to do the full meal deal. Age. All right, so they're old. Old remains of what? 2 and 2. So gonna be the 2 is 2. There can 2. Creature. So it's either gonna be a big or big volume of creatures. It'll be interesting. So, you know, it could be old dragon bones or something. Could be just like a whole bunch of like dead aurochs. Skeletons, could be who knows what. But that gives us an idea. Now, this is also in the water, likely. So it's probably going to be some sort of nasty looking fishy monster of some type. Keep moving. Oh. This time, Nate. Or Nate. And a little isolated homestead. We'll drop this in here. Below 510. That means that there's somebody out here kind of living on their own. And if it ends up being a mage, I'll come back and I'll replace it with this little thing, which is the mage's hat. Be like, oh, there's a mage tower there. Or a little druid living in isolation, something. Some sort of caster. Nothing there. Oop, something here. 12, which is roll twice and combine. I think this came up last time I did one of these. Where I was like, ooh, should I roll d20s or roll 12s? I think that's dependent on what I would have been rolling anyways. So this is in the marches, so I would have been rolling 20s. So let's just roll 2 d20s. So this is going to be 15, so no trespassing area. And 5, so there's a crossing and a no trespassing area. So now maybe we're going to get some more information about it's really good because it actually gives us some insight as to maybe why this crossing is being repaired, why you can't go to this one. So we're going to road crossing, which is this little guy right here, and our no trespassing area. We've been using for no trespassing area. I think we've been using the lock. Yeah, the keyhole stamp. Okay, good. So let's go ahead and write this in. Let's say crossing. The no trespassing area is a very generic term. It means that it could literally be like somebody's private property, like don't cross this. It could be like a Kingswood or something like that. Or it could be like, oh, there's like hill folk live here, so dangerous people, monsters could be here. There's some reason that people are like, don't go there. And that may be people who live there, but it may also be there's just some sort of hazard or something there. There's something bad about that area. People are like, you should just avoid it. Either one. And that way it can be similar to the number 20 point of interest, which is a hazard. This does mean that you're likely to come across some sort of signage or something that's going to tell you, hey, don't go there. Right, come over here. Great. Right here in this little marsh. And we rolled a 3. And that is some sort of religious site. Good to know. And are we interested in what these could be? Maybe. You know what? Let's get the stamps down, and then we can think about maybe what they are, because this could be important. What it is, especially if there's going to be people there. This sort of thing, because we're also thinking about the flight of our PC, who's going to be kicking off from right here. So in their way to get into these hexes up here, there's a chance they might pass through some place like this if they can get lodging there or something on their way. Which seems likely, because it seems likely that we'll probably end up trying to stay here and then probably hitting this guy up here. And there'll be a little haven. This should be a safe spot for us, and then potentially this might be, but this could also just be like a miracle site or something. There might not be like a building here, but there should probably be some sort of village or something, sort of small hamlet that's here as well, usually. Or it could have monsters. Don't know yet, but figure that out. Like I said, let's get the points of interest down, and then we can start thinking about some of that stuff. Once we have the points of interest down, we can start having a better idea of which way we're going to apply. But it looks like, at least from right now, looks like we might have just a straight run at it. So there aren't gonna, doesn't look like there are probably going to be too many complications as long as we stay away from that one monster layer. We should be probably okay. Famous last words, though, so we'll see. All right. Keep moving on. So nothing there. See something here. And an 11. Construction. Construction of what? Another construction site down here. So this is definitely an area that's being developed. All of that does make a lot of sense compared when we're thinking about the kickoff of our campaign, and part of the whole thing that's going to be our character thing is that the prince is basically going to give us land that's honestly not his to give, because we're going to be going right beyond the bounds of his princedom, right here. This is technically beyond that, so our PC is being the expansion for Prince Hells. So it does make sense that maybe there's some construction buildup on the fringe here if he's trying to expand more in that direction. His lands, he's making a power grab. So 3. Okay, so it doesn't matter because it doesn't seem like he's going to be the person who's building this. So this is, in construction. This is another religious site that's being made. this also plays in really well, because we did say one of the things that is big here that is going to end up being a pretty potent power play thing that's kind of going on, which we haven't talked about a ton. We talked about it a little bit in the last stream. It's going to deal with this guy's purple lands that are up here at the top. Magistros Laios. Because they are bringing in more of the primary church or faith religion into the area. Now, Prince Hells is a follower of sort of the old like folk religion, and it's clear that, remember that Magistros Laios was not, just became relatively recently a vassal of that other kingdom. So before that, he was a duke named Lorenz, and definitely was a follower of the old religion. So he has essentially converted, and is now doing things like dressing, and is clean shaven, and all the things that are a little bit more common to things of his neighboring large kingdom that he's now the vassal of. So he's definitely sort of taking on their culture and aspects, and that includes the religion that's coming into the area, which Prince Hells is not happy about. So this religious site that's being built could be one of those things, so we can actually see that in action in the world. We haven't determined that, but I'll probably make it that, because that's the thing that kind of makes the most sense. But it could be Prince Hells is having something constructed over there of the old religion to strengthen it against, bolster it against the incursion of the new religion. So we'll see. It could be either one of those things. Both of those things are very valid to be there. Alright, well, we can skip this because we already know what that is. Alright, we're gonna get something down here too. 5. What was 5? Another crossing. So they're building a larger crossing. But there are other crossings here. So to find out. Yeah, interesting. So we're going to have like 3 crossings that are really relatively close to each other. So we'll have to figure out if they are related in any way or not. We'll see. We don't need to worry about that for right now, though. Okay, so nothing there. There were all the low dice rolls. Ooh, and we got ourselves a 1. Gonna be a village here. I'll just go ahead and do the population for him real quick. Pretty good. 845. Village. Alright, we got 2 more down here. Alright, nothing there. Oh, but something here. And 3, another religious site. Alright. Well then, so we got some interesting stuff that's going on down here. Okay. It looks like there should be a crossing, so getting across this large lake area, which is basically this hex, which was the thing that I was thinking would maybe be the hardest thing for us to do, because previously the only crossing that we knew of was the one that's in construction. But now it seems like there are some other crossings. There's one crossing here, and then there's this no trespassing crossing, which might be the way that we end up going. If we need somebody, there might be like brigands or thieves. We don't know why this is no trespassing area yet. And so if we're being potentially chased or hunted, we might want to go to an area like that. Maybe we can buy our passage to stay here. If we can get to there, we can probably make it the rest of the way on our own. That all sounds pretty reasonable to me. I think that would probably be what it is. Alright, and there's a religious side for us. Alright, great. So that one's done. So, as far as court things go, we're probably going to have people who are in charge of these villages. So somebody's going to be in charge of these lands. Some of the stuff is... Churchland's going to be in charge of some of this stuff. In fact, that this church or religious site, whatever it might be, may be in charge of the village down here. Maybe, maybe not. That kind of gives us, so some of these people may or may not be at the court. They'll show up. Likely they're going to be at the court sometimes. Maybe not all the time. Alright, let's get back on terra firma. Just more. Alright, so, big change here. We're going onto land, which means that we're not going to be rolling this D10 at any point anymore. It's all going to be D6s from here, baby. But as we roll those D6s, was 1 through 3, there's going to be a point of interest, but this is actually in an area that's quite well built up. So it's actually going to be 1 through 5, so there's only a 1 in 6 chance that there's not going to be a point of interest in any of these. Which will be a little weird because there are some... These guys here with the dashes are technically like desert tiles, which means not a lot going on there, but you know, people are trying to scratch out a living. One of the reasons why I decided to put his castle down on the banks of the river, just because it made more sense, but there's still going to be a lot of people here, because they're right within the protection area of Prince Hel's. Let's start here. Abutting up against Lyos's lands right here. Alright. Another change is, so if I roll a... I believe it's 1 through 3? Now I gotta go back and look. I'm pretty sure it's 1 through 3. I need to add those rules to this page because they are obviously not on here. That's fine. I believe 1 through 3 is a D12, and then 4 and 5 are a D20. Which gives us... The idea is that it gives us more likely in these built-up areas, more likely to have these 1 through 12s, and those are the things that would show up more in civilized lands. Like, you're going to have more settlements, and more holdings, and more religious sites, and more travel havens and crossings, but also more dungeons and layers. Which might seem a little weird. There's more dungeons and layers for monsters in areas where there are more people. It seems like that is a little counterintuitive. But the idea being that, remember, in the context of how we build out a dungeon or layer for this purpose, also means that that could just be people. That this could be a robber baron or just a bad guy who's still part of the court and still everything, but a person who, when we're looking at this map through the lens, or world building through the lens of something like Dungeons and Dragons, be like, this is a villain, this is an enemy, this is not a good guy. You will probably end up coming into conflict with this person. Alright, so we rolled that, so we're gonna roll a 20. Doesn't matter, we rolled a 1 anyways. Which means it's gonna be a village. and get the population for it. $115. Bursting at the seams. Right, another 4. Another 20. Rolled a 12. Just what again? Roll twice and combine. Alright, well, you're rolling 20, so we're going to roll 2 20s. 11 and 16. So construction. Treasure rumor. You know what? I'm going to put the construction down first. And the... That is a construction. Let me go ahead and figure out what the construction is, though. 4. A travel haven. So there's a construction of a travel haven that's being made, so probably like an inn or someplace like that, or a post station. And there's a treasure room in that area as well. Maybe those things are related. Maybe there's a lot of this might be an adventurous place. It's at the right at the frontiers of 2 kingdoms, so there's probably quite a bit of illegal stuff happening. Slightly more lawless. And more likely place for adventuring. So it could be very adventure oriented. Alright, well, we'll keep rolling 4s. And a 9. Alright, so this is our own now. 440. Wait, that is correct, isn't that what we're using? Oh. Perfect. Another 4. Alright, and so this will be another village down here. Each one of these villages should have some sort of leader, and these could be the people who show up at the court. They might be smaller nobles, lesser nobles. Could be like knights, or who don't have their own castle. They really just have like a town that they're in charge of. Or not even that, it's a village they're in charge of. 291, not high enough. We need 400 or better. 500. Ooh. Alright, rolled a 5. And we got a 16. So another treasure rumor. Getting hot with treasure rumors. Four and 14. Another 4. Alright, some sort of conflict areas over here. Fine. Alright, and there's nothing in that next text. And then 11, which is a... Yes. In a construction of what exactly? 9. What's 9? Some sort of omen, info, or warning sign being put up. Ooh, we rolled a 1, so now we actually roll a d12 instead. Rolled a 7. Now, a meeting place. I believe... This is a place where people come together. Find out more. It can also be things like a watering hole or things like that for animals. Doesn't always have to be people. Just some place where creatures congregate for some reason. Alright, we rolled a 5. And we're gonna get some remains. And it remains here. Uh, 3 and 5. Creature and V. And I guess we can roll these. Why not? I rolled a 5, which I think is old. So then there are some old remains there, which kind of works as landmark. There might be a reason to go there, might not be. It just kind of depends how the... That's the nice thing about this sort of system is that you put a lot of points of interest down, and then in play, you determine how they might be important to whatever's going on, rather than trying to build the importance out of them. I do both, but it's nice to have some flexibility just to have some places on the map and be like, this is a place you guys are dealing with, XYZ. This particular point of interest seems like it might be related. Maybe here's a place you can go, and I can drop that into whatever the adventure has that's going on. Rather than having to make like coded adventures for every single point of interest here. That's not... I don't find that to be a super useful way to use my time. Ooh. We're gonna roll that d12, and we're gonna get a 2. Okay, so we are gonna get a little holding here. So we are gonna get here. So we are gonna build out this one because I think this one will be important for us. Just so we can kind of get an idea of who this person is. Go down to our holding. Roll a d10. A 5. Okay, so this is somebody who's a regent king. The prince. And they rolled a 10. So governor. Now we're on the low end, so we're going to roll this twice and take the lower number. So that'll be 3. I believe it's just keeping Bailey. And there will be a village, a hamlet accompanying it. I'll just do that real quick. You can only have a max of 400. And they're going to... Alright, so, as it turns out, not a noble, but a governor. So somebody who has been placed there by Prince Hells, hold that land, and is not sort of like a familial nobility. They don't come with those trappings. They're a governor. They're a bureaucrat who runs this area. All right. So, 14. Another conflict area. So things are getting dicey out here. I like it. I don't need to know anything more about that right now. And we'll probably go back and detail some of that stuff later. All right, nothing in that one. But it does seem like there are things that are happening. This is on the edge of the princedom, but is also very close to the court. Well, relatively close. Because that's, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 hexes away, so 40 nautical miles. So pretty far. Right? It's not like maybe a day's ride there. If there was a post station, if you were switching horses, you could get there. But otherwise, a few days. Again, one of the hexes at this size I consider to be basically a leisurely day walk. So like if you had your backpack on adventuring and you were just kind of making your path through, I would assume that each one of these squares takes about a day to walk through. And you're picking your own picking your own path and things like that. And you're not in a hurry. Alright, so there's something here. Ooh, alright, so we're gonna get another one. And this, got a 2 and a 7. Alright, so it's gonna be a noble. And it's gonna be a Viscount. Come here. And let's roll 2d6 and take the lower, which is going to be 3 again, so we're going to be another Keaton Bailey. And also come with its own. 370. So whoever got that land, they really did not luck out. They are right in the middle of that little desert hex. It's not a great place to have land. And again, neither is the swamp. But they will have some of those surrounding hexes as well. Alright, and there's going to be a village next to them. With 540. I do make a distinction between hamlets and villages. If you see me using those two terms, they are distinct as far as what we're doing here. So a village is anything that's 401 population up to 1,000, and hamlet is basically 50 people to 400 people. Hamlets will show up if we had rolled 1, which is just a settlement. That would have been if we were on the league hex scale. So if we were the hex scale down, it would be a hamlet. At this scale, at the county scale, it's a village. At the region scale, it was a city, as we saw, because we have a city on that map. Right there. And on the Atlas map over here on the side, we don't have one that's in here. But at that scale, it is like a capital city. It's like a very big city. We're talking about a city that probably has over 10,000 people in it. For a medieval-ish city, which is a lot of people. We knew that this one would take a long time, because most of these hexes are going to have stuff in them. Roll in some sort of natural resource here. Guy right there. 3. Same thing, right? Natural resource there. Now it makes more sense that that keep is where it is, because it's right next to these two natural resources. And the conflict areas that are around it, like, now it starts to make sense, like, why there is a castle where that is. So it's in the marsh, so it's not in, like, the greatest area. Alright. Easy as pie. Put another city down. I was like, nope, we're not doing cities. We're doing villages. 750. Great. Nothing in that marsh. Down here. In a no trespassing area. Ooh, sorry, can't use the natural 20. 9. Omen, info, or warning. Out in the desert. I like it. Very evocative. 2 and 8. Isolated homestead. Somebody living out in the marsh by themselves. Makes total sense. Surrounded by a lot of desert, mostly. 10, which is another natural resource. Yeah. So some natural resource in the desert. Okay. And I rolled a 4. And another treasure rumor. All right. Can't use that. 4, Travel Haven. Nine. 9. Yep. 2 of those right next to each other. Very interesting. And a dungeon here. Or, which is another travel haven. Interesting. Nothing in that one. And our last hex here. Roll a 20. Religious site. Ooh, buddy. Could be the big religion, could be a folk religion, religious site. We don't know yet. So, yeah. Obviously, once you get into like the civilized areas, the civilized land areas, like, oof, man, it takes a long time to do some of the hex mapping because most hexes have stuff in them. Because things are just really densely packed in. Like, lots of people live here. The majority of the people will live here. For pretty much all of... We have all of his lands right here. Most of the people are going to live in this hex. Then we will have the border hexes, which are here and here. And then most of the rest of this is going to be like wilderness hex, I believe. If there's anything that's going on in any of these. And we do not get close enough to the city to be back in that. So yeah, everything else that we're going to come across will be wilderness hexes. So once we get into these wilderness hexes, what happens is we're going to have the inverse, essentially, of this hex. So in the civilized hexes, there's a 5 out of 6 chance that we're going to have a point of interest in any hex. Once we get over to the deep wild side, it's only a 1 in 6 chance. So if we break that down statistically, there on average should be about 5 points of interest in a wilderness hex. So you're going to have large swaths of land where you go, where there's many miles, like days of traveling, where you might not come across anything. Which is a little bit different than I think most people do hex mapping. They cram it full of stuff. And that's totally fine. I understand why you're doing that. You want to basically have that Elder Scrolls effect where it's basically or Fallout effect where it's like you are basically tripping over new sites every time that you just pick a direction and walk. I understand that. It's good gameplay wise. I understand that. But it's just also these areas of like, oh, sometimes just getting to the place and not getting lost in the wilderness is the difficult part. Especially for this lower level hex crawl kind of play where just getting from A to B can be the issue. Sometimes just finding point B is the issue. Because there's no road to follow. You can get down here into these deep woods and just get lost, and you might not be able to find your way out. And that's, again, once you get out of low level play, then that's not going to be a concern most of the time. Especially in a D&D context, because you're going to have somebody who's going to have spells that are going to have your way to get around it. Or, this is also a very good campaign to have. Campaigns like this are really great if you have a ranger. Then all this stuff becomes really superfluous, because one of the ranger abilities is just like you can't get lost except by magical means, so it's like you won't get lost. Like the ranger is very, very competent at walking around in the wilds. We did those two. We did say that we were going to do this one down here, but we are at a point where I think I'm going to take a break so that way I can refill my tea. We're going to come back, and now I think we're going to switch gears. We're going to talk a little bit about our main character. We're going to figure out some stuff about our main character, because I think it's time we start laying some of that down. We've got an idea of some of the people who might show up in this court now. Like I said, every time that we have like one of these little villages, they're going to have somebody in charge of them. These religious sites will have people in charge of them. These, then of course, our actual like castles will have people in them. We'll get an idea of sort of the people who are going to maybe be showing up. We don't have the full idea, right? We still have a bunch of hexes we're going to map out. We'll have a good idea as to the people who might be there, because we haven't determined how many people are probably showing up for ceremony for our PC. I can't imagine we're basically a nobody, so I can't imagine a ton of people are there unless they're there for a very specific reason, because our PC's land claim is very specific, or our family is very specific, as to there are reasons that there are people here. So we'll probably roll randomly for that at some point, so that way I can be surprised by the dice if it's like, no, like tons of people are here, and be like, this seems like a wildly unimportant reason for everybody to be at court. Is this like a PR stunt by the prince? Is this, could be a number of different things. But I think we're going to jump over and we're going to take a look at we're going to start pinning down some stuff about our player character. But I'm going to take a short break, so you guys hang out, talk amongst yourselves, and I'll be back in just a few minutes, all right? we're back. All right. So we said that we were going to switch tack, and we are going to take a little look. Up our PC generation notes. Here we go. Let me go grab a different document I need to pull out. Oh, I have not moved that over. Let me pull that really quickly. I think that was like, hey, do this. Okay. Control C. Wait for it. Here it is. Here it is. Wait for it. Nice. Control V. Okay. There we go. I guess I can show you guys what we're doing. You know what? We'll put this up on. Yeah. Well, you know what? Because you guys might want to see the dice rolls for this, because we'll probably do some dice rolls. I guess we'll go in view. I don't love this view, but all right. So, yeah, enemies. We'll also have allies, friends, rivals. Enemies, family, and we know a little bit of family. And I do have Xanathar's guide right next to me, though. I guess we should probably pull up the PDF. Do that so that way you guys can take it. And we'll need our background ancestry. So yeah, we can start putting some stuff together. I do know a few things that I'm going to want. Particularly for our player character. I know that last time we played with Leah and she was female, so this time I want to for sure play a male. We already know that they're going to be a noble. So, like I said, we've got it down here for the background, but that's probably going to be customed at some point. I like to tinker with the backgrounds. They're one of the easiest things to really hack in D&D 5e 2024. Is really futz around with the backgrounds, so you really make them whatever you want. So yeah, I haven't used a standard. I'll put it this way: I haven't used a standard background for a character in at this point probably years. Probably I pretty much always remake them or tweak them in some way or make them feel more appropriate for the character that I'm trying to create. Like if you watch the stream where I made that character by hand, you saw me basically make a chorister background from nothing. By basically kind of taking an entertainer and acolyte backgrounds and kind of smushing them together and taking the best of both that I liked. So ancestry. Let's go ahead and get into it. So big thing up front, we're gonna roll some dice. So that's our kingdom 1. There's kingdom 2. But this is where we are. We're in this hex. But this is our rules. So I'm going to roll a d100, and that's going to tell us what ancestry we are. Zero, 3. So we are a Heifer. So a Heifer is custom, just like Saurian in this world. Which is a collection of both gnomes and halflings in this world are treated as though you can mechanically be either one, but they are treated as far as the narrative of the world and the setting that that's just the same type of person. That's the same ancestry. Okay, so we know that we're a Heifer. Which means that we can use any of the stuff that we want. I figured we would probably end up with a Heifer. I kind of already had that in my head, but there was a pretty good chance. There's a 1 in 4 chance that was going to happen. Ancestry, so we're Heifer. So mechanically, like I said, we can pick either a halfling or gnome and sort of the subtype. I forget what they call it in Pathfinder now. Ancestry and is it heritage? Heritage what they use instead of subrace? I think maybe that's what it is. I like that better. I actually like ancestry. The more that I've used it, I like ancestry and heritage a lot more than race and subrace. I like those a lot better. I like the terms. I think the terms make more sense the more I use them. At first I was very ambivalent about it because I was like, I understand why people want it changed because race is a very loaded word, especially in the US. So I understand why people would want it to be different, and technically they are different species, so not really the same term applies. So I like ancestry. I think ancestry is a good word for it. All right, so we've got so we know what we're going to be. Now we can do a physical description. So usually when I do this, and I'm going to throw you guys away, I have to put that up. I have to go find that document. Let's look for our document. I should have brought these out earlier, but I didn't think about them. I didn't get quite that far. So there's a thing that I use when I'm building essentially NPCs. Because I feel like I don't really have to layer that much information into. Maybe. So we don't need a name at this point. I mean, we can roll for a name now that we know. So we already know their species, and we kind of already know their gender. But we can go ahead and do that. Ancestry. Male. We knew we were going to play a male this time. So what we're really looking for is this guy down here. Which you can only see a little bit of because the document's only one page. Enhance. Enhance. Essentially, we'll roll this 1d6 and then 2d6. So to tell us kind of like their physical attributes. I like this better than rolling like random weight and height. I find weird. Because this character is such a blank slate that I don't really want to put. I don't have any thoughts about what their ability scores are going to look like yet. All right, so we rolled a 1, so they're thin. Okay, good. Thin and of average height. Clicking on all the wrong tabs. Not a halter, a halfer. It always autocorrects. All right, physical description. But physique. Thin. Average height. And we can have a few traits down here. Jump back over there. The things that we have is we've got personalities and we've got memorable NPC elements, and this page is very similar. This is a very, very old document. Wow. We have their occupation and their location, kind of where they're from. This was a very different attempt to build NPCs. And I don't even know how old this document is. That's very funny. It's very old though. Many years old. Gender. Yeah, skin color. I mean, we kind of know everybody's gonna have generally Germanic features because that's the area we're starting in. And their body types and height. Here we go. I want their dress. And then we've got some like distinguishing features and stuff like that. Yeah. Sorry. I was looking at my own document. All right. I picked this up because I wanted to use this, and I had forgotten about this until just recently. I found this when I was making the other NPCs, our VIP NPCs, which I made little I prompted little images of, generated some images of them just for fun, because I like having little NPCs to look at. And it gives me an idea of how to inhabit them. Pretty useful. So let's go with. Let's start right here with their dress. So I think that they're probably going to be normally dressed. In fact, because this will give us. This is actually a very important role because it tells us a lot about our character and our family potentially. So actually, I'm going to roll 2d6. Give it a little bit more of a normal curve. So I'm going to go with basically 5 through 9. We're going to end up with normal. If we roll higher than that, we're going to get the fashionable. Get lower than that, we're going to get haggard. All right, we got 6. So right down the middle. Gotcha. All right, so we have a kind of normal clothing. We'll have normal dress. So if we had haggard dress, that would tell us something about maybe our family's wealth. And if we had really fancy clothes, it would also tell us something about probably our family's wealth. But we have normal fashion, so things seem to be alright, fortune-wise. And we've got some distinguishing features, so we're going to roll a d4 of these, I think. I haven't used these tables in forever. So I'm going to follow the tables and see if old me knew what the hell he was talking about. Probably not. That's sort of how history works, is that usually anything you've made, you go back and look at it. If you're in any sort of way creative and look at it like, it's not great. So it's probably not very good. But let's use it. 4, baby. So we're getting the max. Alright. So we're going to get 1 off of 3. So something physical. We're going to get a physical. We're going to get a mannerism. And a couple of basic desires. Interesting. Let's see how this done. We're going to get what was it? We're going to get a trait. Get a physical trait. We're going to get a mannerism. And we're going to get a desire. Alright. We get these out of the way. Alright, what is our physical thing that we've got going on? And sorry, this is going to be so small for you guys. I am sorry about that. There we go. Alright, so I rolled 2. Oh no, we've got some sort of chronic ailment or condition. Oh no. I might mulligan that, just because things are already going to be tough for us. Let's see what we get. How about that? You know what? I'll roll again, and that'll give us an option. So, which one of our chronic ailment conditions do we have? Oh, we have seizures. Ooh, that's not good. That's not good. Okay, so seizures, real bad. That can just randomly happen. 4 is decorations. Okay, I like decorations. We wear bold makeup. Interesting. Interesting. Well, I like that more than seizures. Because I don't even know how I would. I don't think that, honestly, to be perfectly and very transparently honest, I don't think it will be fun to play a character who has and have to make up mechanics for they might just fall down and start having a seizure. Which could just, like, depending on the situation, just like kill them like that if they were, climbing a cliff or swimming or, not great. So I don't think that will be fun. It'll be a fun mechanic. I don't think it'll be a fun thing to inhabit. Again, these are built for NPCs. So for an NPC to have something like seizures, that gives them something to play off of, or gives you something, makes them memorable for sure. So I think we'll go with bold makeup. I'm guessing that this is like a woad face painting. Now it makes me think about like every character creator ever for a video game, where they're like, there's always the tab that you go into that's like, oh, and here's all the weird markings you can put it on your face. Like, interesting. How often does this come up? So yeah, I think that's what we're gonna go with. Bold makeup. So they're gonna have some sort of bold makeup. They're like facial marks of some type. Where you can't read it. We can even put this up a little bit. Be a little bit easier for you guys to read. Alright. I need a mannerism. D6 on the mannerism. 3. So something about our personality, interesting. Likes to make informed decisions. Okay. That's actually a very good one. That tells us a lot about our character. That tells us our character probably is going to have some intelligence and or wisdom. Potentially more wisdom. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe that's a little bit more of a wisdom thing. So they don't fly off the handle, really, which is good. It also colors a little bit about their time probably being a ward at the Prince's Castle. The idea is like, oh, they seem to understand their situation pretty well, even though they're relatively young. They have a good handle on... And they're probably very careful with what they say and who they talk to and all that kind of stuff. All right. We got 2 of these. Oh, wow. Okay, so that was basic desires. And then it says right down here, hey, if you roll 8, you roll again and pick the virtue. Well, we rolled 8 twice for each of our desires. So we're going to get 2 virtues instead. Okay, well, I can't do it again. All right, so 5 is 1. So we have humility. Okay, that makes sense. And we either have chastity or patience. Patience would make sense with our informed decisions. Chastity is very interesting. I don't... Because the idea would be like, why? Why are they having that virtue? We don't really have a reason. As far as we know, they're not trying to be like celibate. So I might go with patience. Chastity is fine. I just don't know if it would come up, honestly. I mean, one of the things that would come up as a potential flare point is back over here in our document. The things we have under our family is like, hey, now that we are essentially becoming a man, it's time to start thinking about marriage prospects. You have a holding now, so that means it's, maybe time to start thinking about making a true political move, which is primarily marriage. But also, he's still very young for a man to get married. Very sort of like in a society like this, because he Really, you would want somebody who's been like, oh, they've gone out and they proved themselves, they got a bit of a reputation, they seem to be on an upward swing, they seem to be... Because I think anybody who would be your managed prospects right now would be really, really desperate for anything. Or maybe just specifically need a title for something. Which means wealthy merchants, right? Who need the holding that opens a lot of doors for them. So, I guess I'll go with... But patience almost feels like double dipping. With makes informed decisions. I don't know. But we've got humility for sure. Because, so here's the thing. So I like makes informed decisions because making informed decisions can actually be a bad thing too. It means that it kind of pushes you to inaction sometimes. Things that you miss opportunities because you needed, essentially you wanted more data to make a decision, so you missed the opportunity to actually make that decision while you're trying to gather the information or trying to make the most informed decision you can, and opportunities slip by. But if we put that together with patience, it does make it seem like that would help erode some of the badness out of it. And often patience is inaction, which is not super great for an adventurer. This is still a D&D game at the end of the day. Like, we are still going to do some D&D in here. I know it may not seem like it sometimes with some of this world building we're doing up around it, but we will have some just standard D&D stuff. And so patience does make sense because we are going to do a lot more downtime kind of stuff. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to reroll. I'm not going to re-roll the basic desire. That's fine. I don't think I want this. I'm going to re-roll whatever this is. The personality. What is it? Mannerism. We're going to re-roll the mannerism. Well, I mean, we did get the mannerism. Yeah. I'm just going to re-roll it. Get a 4. Oh, so we've got a hidden talent. Okay, yeah, I like that. Something we're good at that most people don't know. Got a 5. We're a great cook. Sorry. Move it up. We're a great cook. That's super useful. So that means that I'm gonna for sure give us not only proficiency, I think I may give us expertise cooking. The likelihood that it's going to come up a whole bunch will be actually very useful early on. Hidden talent. Oh my gosh. I saved my life. Our hidden talent. We're just a great cook. Alright, so we got some traits and stuff here too. Alright, so that's good. I like this. I like where we're going with this. Anything else that we need to do? I don't think so. Oh, this is a good one. This is actually useful for us. We had that. We're gonna have those bold markings. Maybe this will give us an idea of where they should be. Twice. 1 and 1. Somewhere on the head. Ears or eyes. Okay. Ear makeup's a little weird. I think we're gonna go with eye. So. Add this in here. Maybe we do some dark smoky looks, like maybe we got the charcoal eyeshadow kind of thing. It's kind of a thing for us. Maybe that's just fashionable. Or maybe it has some sort of meaning. I don't know yet. We can figure that out later. I like this. And we need to do the background. And then we'll be good with our person here, I think. It'll give us an idea of sort of what they look like, and then I think we can name them. We can give them a name. So let's actually we'll do this is your life Xanthar's guide. We'll do this stuff too. Just to give them a little bit more flesh on these bones. I lost my train of thought. What was I gonna do? Don't like that. Hate when that happens. Something before giving you a name. It's normal dressable dye makeup, ability. Oh, background. Yes. Good look at noble. So I'm going to here. Backgrounds. Here we go. Okay. Oh, buddy. Give us absolutely everything. I want to look at some nobility. Like an no. Search within here. Get just the nobles. There we go. They all seem to do exactly the same for the most part. History, persuasion, gaming set, language for your choice. Gaming set, equipment's probably going to be very similar. Fine clothes, perfume, scroll of pedigree. I think the skill proficiencies are going to be fine. They're all pretty much history and persuasion, so that's fine. I guess we really need to pay attention to the 2024. Really what we need to do. What is this? Yeah, so we really need to focus right here. All the rest of these are old. Actually, can I... Book source, here we go. There's a way to just be like, just the stuff in 2024, please. I don't think there's a way to do that. That's okay. This is where we need to focus. Alright, ability, score, strength, intelligence, charisma. I forget, do we get all of them or just one of them? Get in the 2024. I don't, to be honest, I don't ever use them. I didn't like the move from taking ability score increases away from ancestries only to give it to backgrounds. I think ever since I played Starfinder, which is up there on the shelf, and Starfinder gives you the option, because I wanted to play one of the bug people, I can't remember what they are, but I also wanted to play a Mystic. And those, they have a negative score with the Mystic primary trait. I was like, that sucks. But there is a variant rule where it's just like, actually, you can just ignore that and just add, the 3 ability scores wherever you want. I was like, oh, actually, then I can primarily choose backgrounds and ancestries based off of the features of those things, or because I want them to be specific to the type of character I'm trying to build, that it makes sense that they have that background regardless of what I get out of that background. Yeah, we're going to take this. We're going to take Noble. We're going to get the skilled feat. 3 skills or tools of your choice. Repeatable. And we get History and Persuasion. Alright, so let's do background. But Noble. Good. And Persuasion. Gonna get the skilled feat. We're already coming out, just from background alone, we're walking out with 5 proficiencies, which is massive. And we get 1 kind of gaming set. History. Which has to be cards. And then we'll get fine clothes, perfume. There's A or B. We may just want the 50 gold. Like, the gaming set's fun, but having playing cards is not that big of a thing. And fine clothes and perfume are not super great for us. We're not going to be spending a lot of time in court, is the thing. But we should have fine clothes, I suppose. What is the perfume? Can I just, drop the perfume? 15 plus 5, so 20. That was already 49 plus some extra here. So this definitely, as is usual for these things, is that if you choose A, you're generally going to get more money of stuff than if you just take the straight gold, which is a little bit frustrating. Or we can just have the straight gold. I think we're just going to take the straight gold and just buy fine clothes. So I think we'll take, I think it says 35 gold and fine clothes. And 35 G. I'm good with that. Too bad about the features, though. I really miss the features from 2014. I really hate that they took that out of the game. Because some of the features were really, really cool. Some of them were pretty boring, but some of them were really cool. Like, I played one knight character in the under the 2014 rules, where I had retainers, and then they were fun. It was fun to have NPCs just around that you could have do mundane stuff. Very old school type of play where you're like, oh, we just have hirelings. You know what? I'm actually just gonna steal this. I'm gonna take this instead. So we don't get a language anymore, which is a thing. But I'm gonna take this. Fine clothes, signet ring, scroll of pedigree, purse containing. Because that's closer to what I wanted. Oh no. I want to. Yeah. We're gonna have fine clothes. Signet ring. We'll have a scroll of pedigree, which is basically the thing that says who we're related to and why we're noble. That will be the thing that probably we're going to get in our ceremony. And there we go. I like that better. That's a much more suitable things you get for being a noble, rather than the gaming set. Honestly, I'd rather trade out the gaming set for language. Honestly, if I was being truthful. But I don't know. Gnomes and halflings get a bunch of stuff. Yeah, so I think I'm good with those. Otherwise, I think we're good. So we did kit bash a little bit, but generally we're fine. I don't do the ideal bonds flaw stuff. We got this. We'll have enough characterization. Don't need a tiny roll table's worth. But we're got some good stuff here. We're gonna have ability score, strength. Which I'm not gonna worry about. Like I said, I usually don't pay attention to that stuff. I know. Playing by the rules. Fine. Let's get our species. Bye. You know what? Let's just look at everything. We know that we want their gnomes. I'm looking for deep gnomes or gnomes. Yeah. Dark vision. Gnomish cunning. And the supernatural stuff. All stuff which could be useful for our guy. Let's look at halfling. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason I'm gonna not take halfling, right? I mean, it's nice to have the speak with animal stuff as a gnome, but hey, man, having luck is really good, and being naturally stealthy and halfling them, this is all very, very good stuff. No, we're gonna lose dark vision, but that's okay. It'll be all right. We're gonna go with halfling, so we're gonna be small. Be small. Actually, I don't even need to notate that. That is one of the changes, that they're now just as fast as everybody, you know. Then she gets frightened. What else do we get? And move through this. This is where the language is very important. You can move through the space of any creature. That's the important part of that sentence. All characters, all PCs can move through the spaces of your compatriots, with your allies. But you can't in there in the same place. Neither can you do that as a halfling. Halfling, any creature, is the important part. And when you're small, most things are going to be larger than you. Which means that you can't be essentially cornered, because they can always move through your space. Nobody can deny you passage. Now they'll still get opportunity attacks if you move away, right? They still get that, but you are able to move through any creature square, which is the important. And we're healthy. All right, and of course we have the lucky trait, which is so OP. I believe we have to take the second result, right? And you must use them. Cool. D20 first, must think. So we can still roll ones, just way less likely, which is good. Which is good. It would be super nice for the campaign that I'm playing in tomorrow, where we have a critical fumbles chart that we roll on. So if you roll a 1, you're rolling on the chart, and we've rolled on it a lot. We've rolled on it a lot. But so have the bad guys. The bad guys have rolled on it, I think, a lot more than we have. And they're usually bad. It's usually like a drop your weapon, or you take some sort of damage, or you attack somebody else. In our last session, our warlock slash sorcerer, or warcerer. Our Warcerer made an attack roll with Eldritch Blast, which is not, he's not that kind of warlock. He's not built for Eldritch Blast. So his Eldritch Blast is really piddly. But rolled a 1 and then ended up shooting one of our allies with it instead. That was the fumble. Oops. Not great. That's everything. Great. Sucks to lose dark vision, but hey, can't be helped. Especially you make an ancestry that is built for being stealthy, and then you don't give them dark vision, so they have to carry around the light source, which is gives a lot of people an idea of when you're sneaking around that you're there when you have to have a light source. That's all right. But it does mean that it's more likely that we're going to play maybe a sneakier character. Not necessarily, but maybe. Halfling thieves they make good rogues for a reason. Very on brand for the, hobbit kind of stuff. All right. I said we were going to do... Yeah, so I don't think we'll need to... Looking back here, our map, I don't think that we'll need to go through this hex. I'll probably fill out this hex. I'm going to fill out all the hexes. But given the time that we have left, I think let's just go ahead and do the Xanthar's Guide to Everything This Is Your Life section. And I think let's do that to build up RPC a little bit. And then we'll probably call it quits for today. That's probably going to be enough for today. But let's do that. So I'm going to throw you guys back in my face because I got to go find that PDF. And the thaw got the everything. heals. There we go. This is your life, whether you like it or not. Great. All right. Yeah, I get it. This is your life. All right. I'm just gonna put this in here. We'll put is your life. All right. All right, we don't need that stuff. Let me go ahead. Yeah, let's just start making some rolls, I guess. I'll put this. Not a good spot for this. Over here for right now. All right, our parents. I mean, yeah, we had to know who our parents were. There's only a 4% chance that you don't here. I don't think I've ever rolled a character who didn't know who their parents were. So yeah, we know who their parents are. Great. Where were we born? 59. Home of a healer or midwife. Okay. I don't think that will have any bearing here. You know what? I changed my mind. This could have bearing. Nice. Of healer / midwife. Because remember that we are going to get retainers. We're going to start pulling NPCs to us. So if we have somebody who is a skilled healer that we already know, then maybe we can get to come to our holding. It would be nice to have a healer on the premises. Help keep us healthy and happy. So that could actually be important. Usually those things I'm usually like, whatever. But they could actually be important in that context. Alright, some siblings. Now here's the thing. You can end up with a whole bunch of siblings real quick. So I may roll twice on here and take the lower. Alright, doesn't matter. I don't have any siblings. That's really interesting. Very interesting. That means that I am, number one, heir to my parents' probably lands. It makes sense why I was being kept as a ward. But very, very interesting. That means that, yeah, our PC might be a little bit more important than we thought. And definitely gives them a reason to be targeted. Hey, if that's your one potential person who can be your heir, you can really snap that life out, and there goes the family line. I'm sure maybe Mother Dearest and Dear Father probably have some siblings. But our character, oop, siblings, none. No siblings for us. Birth order, don't have to worry about that. It's only us. We're first and last. Alpha and Omega. Who raised you? It's really, really likely to get absent parents. Xanthar's Guide to Everything. There is only a 25% chance that you will be raised by your mother and father. Again, I don't think I've ever actually had a character done that. Okay, so I rolled 73, so single mother or stepmother. Stepmother? Question mark? Yes. So they have mother and father on here. Some of these charts are real, like they're really good ideas. A lot of stuff in them, and I really love the "This is your life" section for fleshing out a PC. Like it's really great stuff. The problem is the tables are sometimes not great. Like in this situation, there is no way to have a stepmother or stepfather who's not the single one, or maybe that's just the way it's worded, is that it is. So I rolled a 73, which would be single mother, which I don't think. I think I'm going to have both the PC's parents alive. Or I thought. Or stepmother. So I think it's supposed to be single mother or father and stepmother. Is how I'm choosing to interpret that. So father and stepmother. This we don't need this anymore. We don't need this anymore. So we do have an absent parent, which is mother. So we can ask. I'm going to put this kind of right in the middle of the screen. That way it doesn't keep getting lost on me. So I'm going to ask. I'm going to try to get the fate of my absent parent here. 2. Parent was imprisoned, enslaved, or otherwise taken away. It'd be a very interesting background choice if we go with imprisoned or taken away. We could also say that. No, because it would be stepmother. She was a ward as well. But that wouldn't be the case if they were married. I don't know which one of those to pick. I don't think enslaved is right. I'm not really getting that vibe from this campaign thus far. Like in Leah's campaign, that would absolutely probably be the choice because we did a bunch of slavery stuff in there. But this one, we haven't really come up with any like slavery vibes about anything. So I don't think that there's probably a lot of slaving going around in here, in this area, the corner of the world. So imprisoned, but I wonder for what reason. Or otherwise taken away. I'm trying to think of why anybody would take them. I'm heavily leaning towards imprisoned, because I think that'll give us a better idea. So I'm just going to ask the Oracle, was Mummy Dearest, was she imprisoned? And I think it is. I'm going to say likely, so +3. Okay, so the answer is no. They didn't roll 11 or better. They were otherwise taken away. That makes me think like maybe this is a border reaver situation. If they got stolen in the night. Is that true? Is that what happened? Did they get abducted? No. Okay, so if they didn't get abducted, what happened? They were taken away. We're going to use this guy. See if it'll give us anything. So these are prompts. These are another type of oracle. It gives you a verb and a noun that you can kind of put together. This is from Solo Dark, which is the solo version of Shadow Dark. There we go. Lost the name of it there for a second. So contain. That's right. It contains science. She was taken away to contain science. What could contain science mean in this instance? So weird. What could... Mike, what could that possibly be? Ooh, was she taken away for her sickness? Like she was very ill. And so she was removed and like quarantined. I think that's extremely likely. So I'm gonna roll on the Oracle. And our +5 is gonna get us to 12. The answer is yes. Okay, so she has been taken away. Essentially, she has been imprisoned. So she must have like an ongoing... As far as we know, she's still alive. She's not dead. So, I don't know, maybe she has like leprosy or something? Like she's a leper? Who knows? Very interesting, very interesting. Throwing that down there. Alright. What was our family lifestyle? It should probably be pretty good. I got a 9. Modest. I'm gonna roll again to see if we get anything higher. It's okay if we get modest. Oh, we got quite a bit higher. So we got comfortable. So we're gonna get a +10 modifier on our childhood home tab. Rule day 28. No permanent residence. Interesting. Oh, well, I forgot to add my +10. It'd actually be 38. Yeah, a village in the wilderness. That makes sense. So if we go back and look at our map here, you can start to see, hey, you know, there are literally these villages that are hanging out here. They're out in the middle, kind of hanging out. So we're going to be from one of these. It's set in the wilderness, though, so I'm guessing that our family's holding is going to be somewhere deep in this guy. Deep in this forest, in the old wood here. Is probably where our character's going to be from. Our family is from. Back before we got taken into the ward, which is, he's probably been a ward probably like half his life. Probably at this point. So it's like, that's as much a home to him as living with the prince is at this point. We kind of had the idea that our noble parent was probably going to be like a frontier lord, or pretty minor nobility. So I think that sounds right as to what we have. Keep moving. Childhood memories. We don't know what our charisma mod's going to be yet. And usually when I'm doing this, I don't consider the charisma mod. But there is a chance that we will have a good charisma mod. We're trained in some talky-talk stuff. You know, we spent a lot of time at court as a child. We've seen a lot of people talk. Probably gonna ape a bunch of that. So, wow. Well, nothing but ones. I'm haunted by my childhood when I was treated badly by my peers. Okay. I'm gonna roll again. See if I get something else I like better. Excuse me. Alright, I rolled a 12. Few close friends, ordinary childhood. I think the chance of me rolling 3 once is pretty low. If we end up with a positive modifier, I think so. What we'll do is we'll kind of like kit bash in between these bottom ones, because I can't imagine that we'll have much more than a +2 modifier. So we can kind of pull maybe the bottom 3 together. So it's, I'm haunted by my childhood when I was treated badly by my peers. I spent most of my childhood alone with no close friends, and others saw me as being different or strange, so I had few companions. So I think all of those things are probably true. Now the interesting thing is there's nothing weird about us, so maybe it has to do with whatever happened to our mother. It was treated poorly by peers. We're treated poorly by peers, and spent a lot of time. Spent most time alone, or let's say maybe with adults. Yeah, so like got treated pretty poorly by most of the village kids, which is very interesting being the person who's like in charge of things. But again, you are a halfer, so as a child you're even small for a child, especially small for a child. They're probably treated poorly by peers. No, because kids don't really care about things like status or position. They don't really rock those concepts probably yet, especially because we're talking about him. He's probably between the ages like 5, 6, 7, something like that. So very, very young. Back before he was moved away as ward. Here's our background. I think there is one for noble, right? There's one. I became a noble because I was born to it, baby. Some people just got it. Got that magic of birth. My family is filled with remarkable people. I hope to live up to their example. Okay, that's roughed. Whatever. We don't know what class we're gonna be. Let's do some life events. What is our current age? Well, we're definitely 20 years or younger, so we're gonna get 1. I'm gonna roll twice. We'll see which one we like better. 86. Fought in the battle, roll on the war table. That's unlikely, but you know, maybe. And 78. Went on an adventure. I was a child and I went on an adventure. That's probably unlikely. And it's really just a story. Yeah, let's make a roll on the adventure table. And a roll on the war table. No. There's the adventure table. 92. Found a considerable amount of treasure on your adventure. You have 1d20 plus 50 GP left from your share of it. Wow. That is that's lucrative. And then the war table. Oh, never change it. Now it's just D12 table. We'll roll twice, why not? Doesn't matter, got the same thing. You were badly injured in the fight and you still bear the awful scars of those wounds. I like either one of these, actually. I can imagine, we think that their village was probably put in an area that's got a lot of wilderness to it, so there was probably some sort of battle that happened. Might have been hill folk, might have been border reavers, could have been literally just war came there. Now I want to look at what we have about our characters so far. Look, we know they're brave, right? That's the halfling thing. We know they're brave. Move through other creatures' squares. We get the bold makeup, but we do have a lot of humility. Informed decisions, great cook, history and persuasion. These are the sort of things that make me think maybe not adventure. I like being treated poorly by peers. Spend most of the time alone or with adults. Gives me the idea like that is the sort of kid who might end up, you know, on what would constitute a childlike adventure, because you know people just aren't around, so they're just kind of picking up their own fun, and they ended up going on an adventure. So I like the adventure, and they found something of significant wealth. I like that. I like that a lot, actually. And he's been using it. So wherever it is that he had like a cache somewhere, and he probably emptied it for the most part when he went to court. But again, he's got humility, makes informed decisions. But I do also like him just maybe having a nasty scar or something. We didn't come up with any of that, but it would be interesting to have that as a background. So I could see us going either way. I like both of them. One of them just gives us money, which is but it could give us a good story. The other one gives us some sort of trait on our character. So I don't know. And I'll just roll. When we don't know, we'll just make the roll. So we're gonna roll 50-50. So if it's 11 or up, we went to war, baby. That's 15. Went to war. All right. So we've got some sort of like it's like a nasty scar or something, right? At least we didn't get cowardice. We were badly injured in the fight, and you still bear the awful scars and the wounds. When is the actual wording? Awful. No, we don't have any sort of specific ability, like we're not missing digits or like an arm or something like that. So facility wise, everything's good. Like we didn't lose an eye or anything. We don't have anything like that. But we do have some of these bad scars. I could pull out my die, but I'm not going to do that. Trying to think of, well, maybe, nah. I'll go head, torso, arm, leg. Roll d6. Where are the scars at? Torso. Okay, so on the torso. Front? Question? Yes. Okay. Chest question. Right. So we have a nasty scar somewhere sort of like on our chest. So that means it's either going to be a puncture wound or a slashing wound. So let's go with awful scar would probably be slashing. I mean, we could also be like fire burn too. I assume it's got to be a BSP. Almost assuredly BSP. Yeah. Alright, slashing? Yeah, I think probably. Yes. Okay. So we'll say, and a nasty sword slash scar. Yes. I'll say sword scar. I don't need to say flash when flash. Alright, so we're badly injured and we have a nasty. So our beautiful young boy is gonna be coming of age, so roughly 14, 15-ish. At this point, is when we're gonna start out with him. He's not had the happiest life. In fact, it seems like becoming a ward of the prince has probably been a significant step up in his life. Like, things were not so great at the village, which might tell us a little bit about their relationship with his parents. Okay. Let's go back up here. Okay, so we did our life events. Okay. Continue after. Alignment, don't care about it. Class, don't care about it. And occupation, don't really care about it. This. Yeah, let's go relationships and status. Alright, so we've got 3 people that we know of that are important to us. So we've got Father Dearest, we have Mother Dearest, and we have our evil stepmother. We don't know if she's evil though. So I'll just write in their statuses here. Go through them. Alright, so we need their status, so we roll 3d6. Go down the line, so this will be for Pops. Pops is alive and well. Stepmother. Alive and quite successful. And Mother Dearest. I'm actually probably going to roll twice and take the lower. 13, so she could be alive and quite successful. Or 8. Alive but doing poorly due to injury, financial trouble, or relation. Yeah. Alive but infirmed. And we'll say sickly. The father's alive. Well, stepmother's even better. So I do want to ask a question. This is important about like the thing that happened with his mother. Was he around when she fell ill, or was he already made a ward of the state? Because let's see, he's 14, 15-ish. We said that he's probably been the ward of the state since he was probably almost half his life. So I think he probably went to become a ward at like 9? 8 or 9, maybe? So, yeah, so I guess it's about a 50-50. So if we roll high, he'll have been at court. Roll low. So I just want to put this down here. And then I want to know for the stepmother, for as far as the stepmother's concerned, is she successful due to her own things, or is this some sort of like weird manipulation thing on his father? Is she successful on her own? You know what? I really have no bearing, so I guess 50-50. Okay. And independently successful. Let me flip the Xanthar's guide to. Yeah, let's get some hostilities. Not hostilities. Do some occupations. I really should use my chart. Guess I could. I like my chart a lot better than this chart. Though herder works just fine. Like if she's made a lot of money off of farming or herding, like she's done a very good job at managing maybe the estate. Or potentially her own estate. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna do this. Go. I'm gonna put this away just for a second so I can find the occupation chart. So this is something that is this is not what I was looking for. This is good, but it's not what I was looking for. Clean up some of this stuff. There we go. Alright. Now, okay, so I have a D100 NPCs chart, and basically it's just like occupations and stuff like that. But I like this a lot more. This is one of the things that's one of my favorite things that's in my DM binder. But anytime I just need a random NPC, I can roll on this. There are way more than 100 in here, by the way. Almost every entry gives you options. And we rolled a 48. So a bather, dyer, or tanner. Okay, so yeah, maybe she has like a nice dye works thing that she does. How about I play both? All right, so we got herder on one, and we've got dyers down here. So maybe got a very successful like wool trade. And so we'll say, yeah, keep it there. Very successful like textile. I don't think I have to leave independently. If there was something bad blood between father and stepmother, I would, or at least that we know of. We don't know of any of that. But we do remember when war came to the village. It wasn't good. Yeah. So our PC, not NPC, PC, not a non-player but a player character, had like a real garbo childhood. Like, just was not good, man. All right, well, I don't think there's anything. I don't think there's much else. We could roll for the relationships, I guess. I think we can do that. 3d4, which is a weird table. So we rolled a 7, friendly, 9, which I think is also friendly, friendly. Okay, great. So basically I did that so I would know status of the relationship with their family. So everything's on good terms, it seems like. Including sick mother. But I also rolled for the prince. And the prince is quite older. The prince is young. Hells is a young prince. He's sort of like in his mid to late 20s. So, I mean, he's 10 to 15 years older than our PC, but has spent a lot of time around him significant amount of time because he was a ward of the prince. So they did kind of have a little bit of time. So they have some sort of relationship. So we are friendly, which will determine our initial title and land claim size that I did see here. So things are going to go better for us. I'll probably roll that once we start playing. Oh, that's true. So, let's ask really the popularity of my family with the prince. Which, I'm not going to leave this up to here. I'm going to use the 2d6 roll. 5. I'm going to have to throw you guys away. Because I shut down that sheet. I put those NPC sheets down because I thought, oh, well, I don't need that anymore. And then, of course, what happens? I immediately need it. Alright. I rolled a 5. So on the attitudes, they're open. Okay. So we got very middle of the road. So they're not super friendly. Like, obviously the prince has a closer relationship with our PC than he does our parents. Which I think fits. I think that makes sense. So that would have been just a straight roll. So we're friendly with the prince. So I'm just going to swap these around. Parents. And we have a friendly. Actually, you know what? I could roll. Just see if we get something different. 4, that's bad. And 5, which would. We're going to go with friendly. There we go. All right. I guess that's just typing away. So the parents have a medium relationship with the prince, very open. No particularly good or bad to it. Very middle of the road. But our PC has a friendly relationship with Prince Hells. It's been at the court for a long time, and then I would say that Prince Hells has probably had a lot of effect on our PC as they're growing up. Like, it has a lot of impact in our life. For obvious reasons as a ward, but also, you know, that's the person you see in power, you see the most important person in the room most of the time. You're gonna have a lot of impact in those formative years. We don't need that. And we'll take a look here, but I think we're just about done. Those are feats. That's okay. Yeah, we're done with this. Perfect. All right, so we got through a lot of what I wanted to do. So we've got a good idea of My person. Oh, let's make their name. We should do that. And I just closed the book. That's okay. I've got the actual hardcover book literally right next to me. So, the question is do they have a Germanic name, which I think is very likely. So +5. Oh, so the answer is no. Okay, so they're gonna have a halfling name. Halfling or gnome name. I'll probably just pick whichever one I like better. That is definitely going to make us stand out, though. Half orcs. Lings. We rolled 18. Which for halfling is Daniel. Let's see what it is for gnomes. Cockavy. Well, that might be problematic for streaming. How about if we flip them? Because I don't actually love either one of those options. Debo. These gnome names. Well, they're gnome names, I guess. No, they're on point. Reed. I do like Reed. Just for funsies with the ended up with the German thing. Let's see. Done anything good? So 18. Christoph. If we had done the 81, that would be Sigmund. I'm gonna go with Reed. I think Reed's good. I like Reed. Probably also partial to it because I've known somebody in my life. All right, so Reed. Excellent. So we still have some questions that we have yet to answer. They're kind of down here, mostly to deal with the court. We're gonna figure out what's going on with the rest of the court, but I've got to fill out this guy. I got to keep filling this guy out with points of interest, so that way I can figure out who might be at the court. Gonna show up. But we also need to find out where father and stepmother are, and then maybe where our mother is, because our mother is also probably being held somewhere. Apparently. Could be like one of these, isolated homesteads. Might be our mother, or if she's in like a hospital situation. One of those. I'm thinking very Victorian things where they're like, oh well, you should go take in the sea air, and they would have which is essentially a resort that you live at while you're sick. Very turn to the 20th century kind of thing. But would probably exist in some form or fashion in here. There's also one of those religious locations might actually just be a legitimate hospital. And so she might just be there. But yeah, I think that's where we're going to leave it for today. I know we're going to do this. But we're already getting a little long on the tooth, and I don't really want to jump into another one at this point. But we made a lot of good progress. We've got a lot of good ideas up here as to what's going on. I think we have a pretty sound idea of what their path's going to be. So their path through here is probably going to be running along this forest line northward. So they're going to start here because that's where the court is. They'll probably make it to here. And then they might come down here. They might... It seems like they probably want to get to this crossing. So... Unless we think that we could get through here. But this is a bad idea. Bad guys here. So we're probably going to go boop, boop, boop. We may just fall south. Boop, boop, boop. Boop, boop. And that might take us to here. And from here, we can probably set out into here. Going through probably this hex right here. I don't know what it is. Haven't filled it out. But is likely either a water hex, if it's a water hex and this thing's an island, or it's going to be a swamp. And if it's a swamp, then that gives us a direct lead into where we're going. Now we know that there's this river down. We know that there's a river that's coming in here. But this also river should also continue up and through here, if I remember correctly. Yeah, because it comes down into here, and it's going to go through that hex that we're going directly into. So we have to get across the river, and we don't know where the river is, but the river is going to come into one of these hexes, and then it's going to boop, 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 boop. Out to the right, through this hex, up into this hex, and then out over here somewhere. It's going to snake around in there. And we know that we have to get to the other side of the river. Okay. Yeah, so we have a pretty good idea of that will probably be the path they take. Now I'll have to figure out this little area right here, just see if there's anything there. You know what? Honestly, because we're on the stream, I'll just roll for these two right now. Alright, so there's nothing there. So again, this is a march or border hex. This larger hex, so all of these hexes within it. So there's only a point of interest if we roll a 1 through 3. There's definitely not one in that first one. But there's going to be one right here. We rolled... actually, it's border hex, doesn't matter. Right, and we rolled a 3, which is going to be a religious site. There's going to be some sort of religious site here. We may make a run straight here. It'll depend on that. I can actually roll right now. If I roll low, it's going to be forage tech. Okay. Drop that here. And then punk. So yeah, I mean, that looks like that's probably what our route's going to be. We're going to go boop, boop. Probably here, there, and into one of these hexes. We might avoid the tree line and go up to here, because there's probably going to be a road to here. Then take us to this village. We can go from the village, we can make our way across the swamp. And we can get this crossing. If we get to the crossing, we can take it probably to here, at least. And from there, I guess we can roll 6. If I roll low, it's going to be water. Rolled high. And from there... fact. And this will probably be our launch point into these hexes, which is where we're going to have to find out where that river goes. Because we have to get on the other side of the river, and from that, that'll determine our holding. So we have an idea. I want to know this specifically because I want to make the route, so we won't hex crawl that route. But I do want to be like, oh, here are the different places we could hit on that route. Places we might stop at. So it might give us some options to go to A or B, or A, B, or C, depending on that. Like, oh, do we want to go straight here? Do we want to go this way? They'll course us a path instead. Because again, this is a very long ways that we still have to go. So it's going to be, like, to get to where we need to be, which is up here, we would go, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 hexes, so that's 120 nautical miles. That's a long time. It's a journey of like 2 weeks. Get up there. And we think that for the kickoff of the campaign, that people will be actively trying to stop us from getting there. In fact, they might be trying to kill us. Like, we know they are, because that's what we're going to do. But yeah, we're getting closer and closer, inch by inch, to the kickoff of the campaign. And now we have a good idea of trying to think about what our characters are going to be like. Fun. But that's where we're going to leave it for today. So, thanks for checking this out, and coming along with me as we start to figure this stuff out and get this set up for our campaign, which is our solo campaign is going to be from level 1 all the way up to level 11. So we're going to figure out who these bad people are at court and who wants us dead and why. So that'll be interesting. Hopefully, by the next time we meet and start going over this, I'll have filled out more of the map, if not all the map, and have our list of potential people who might be showing up at court for our ceremony. At that point, we can start to narrow down who exactly might be rivals, who might be allies, who might be... Once we have our basically rogues gallery, we'll be able to assign people out. But that's everything for this. If you like this, of course, give it a follow or a subscribe. Love that. And thumbs up if you like it and you want to see more of that stuff. Otherwise, we'll catch you next time. All right? So you guys have a good one, and I'll see you guys later. All right? Bye.